Fat, fatness and gender, bioethics, narrowology, Indian cinema, and semiotics. Dr. Tamalapakla had published extensively in national and international journals on gender, sexuality, caste, queerness, media, and sociology of religion. Behind academia, she is a keen public intellectual, engaging wider audiences through her writings in The Vibe, The News Minute, Deccan Chronicle, Age, Counter Currents. Her work critically examines contemporary social issues, translating complex ideas into accessible and thought-provoking narratives. I think Saujanya Garu, she got a connection with many women organizations and women institutions. She's not only the academic background, she's also interested in the social activism and all those things. I welcome to once again Saujanya Garu. I think very proud of you. You are doing in a very different. You are working in different subjects. Basically, in my interest in media and politics, cinema, then in these areas, very less people had an interest in to do this. I think it's a very much interested. In future also, we will have a engage in the social activism in different areas. Thank you very much. Thank you. Accept for this lecture on behalf of Center for Dalit Studies and other associate organizations like Indian Institute of Social Studies and Center for Dalit Rights, National Alliance for Social Justice, Dalit Coalition, People's Campaign for Socio-Economic Equity, Dalit Bhojan Front, National Movement for Land, Labor and Justice. Many organizations also associated with this lecture. We are going to organize 75 lectures in this year up to January 26, 2026. Now we reaching 29 without break. Every week we are organizing a 2 lectures, Wednesday and Saturday, the same time 7 o'clock in the evening. This is our we are committed for this lecture to continue up to ending of the 75 number. Because of the we entered into 75 years of the Indian Constitution. That's why we are going to organize 75 lectures. That is the our idea. Thank you very much for our journey. You are also joined. I'm very much happy and welcome again and again. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, respected Mallepalli Lakshmaya Garu, for the introduction. And also, I would like to, at the very outset, thank the organization Center for Dalit Studies and all other associated organizations. I am really proud of your work and your organizational work, which actually gives us a great strength to continue in whichever field we are. So I would like to present on women's rights and women's rights that are sanctioned through constitutional rights as a base and fundamental foundational space through which we have several women's rights, and these rights, and what are the challenges in accessing these rights for women. So I would like to begin with the Hindu Code Bill, because Hindu Code Bill is one of the important contexts in which the rights of women, for the first time, women were considered as equal citizens and considered to to be treated as equals and rightful citizens and equal partners in the society and the nation building. So this was the first step to think about women's rights. And as we know, in 1951, the bill has not passed in the sorry, bill has not passed in the in the parliament. So I would like to, some of the points I will read out. It's a set of legislative proposals aimed at reforming and codifying laws related to Hindu personal matters like marriage, inheritance, and adoption. Because marriage in a traditional system is a sacred institution without any rights, particularly no rights granted to women. So similarly, women do not have inheritance rights because women almost, I would not use the term they are slaves, but almost lived in a condition of slavery where they are treated as commodities and with no rights of their own and no right to hold property, because they themselves are seen as the units of property that is held by the men. So, and also adoption. In those days, women, I mean, the couples do not have right to adoption. And here, this particular Hindu code bill also sanctions the right to adopt, because, women who do not have children used to be taunted as barren women. But here, there is a possibility of adoption. And it is introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in 1951. It was part of the vision to bring equality between the genders in Indian society. So there were oppositions, protests, and I know particularly by the conservative groups, orthodox intelligentsia, but also this this consists of a huge number of women, also upper caste women, who went against the Hindu code bill because it is considered to be interference with their traditional system of marriage, in traditional system of also religious religious belief system. So and the bill eventually, like later, came to materialize in different shapes within the Hindu Marriage Act that was introduced in 1955, which also introduced monogamy against the bigamy and polygamy of Hindu men. And it also introduced Hindu Succession Act 1956, and also Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956. So this was a landmark document which not only became different laws and acts, but also founding on this building on this foundation, women later got various other rights also. As we see today, 1961 prohibition of Dowry Act, which is also prohibition of Dowry Violence Act. These are all founded upon the principles that are introduced by Hindu Code Bill by Dr. Ambedkar. And so these are aimed at giving equal rights based on Article 14, 15, 16, which gives equality and the right against discrimination and equal opportunity to all its citizens, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, and sexual orientation. So therefore, this document is the foundational document for all the rights that are sanctioned to women constitutionally, as well as legislative process that are given much later, even thinking about a law which came in 2005 as the Domestic Violence Act also. These are the foundational principles are laid by Hindu Code Bill. So I would like to, discuss each part of these, rights. So one is inheritance and property right for women. So women's lives in India have largely been shaped by Brahminical patriarchy that limits the rights and autonomy of women. So how do we understand patriarchy? We talk about patriarchy in all societies, but there is something called Brahminical patriarchy, which means its nature is slightly different from patriarchy. In a patriarchal society, the control on women is determined by the aim of establishing a patriarchal institutions and patriarchal societies and ideologies. But here is a society in which women are controlled not merely by patriarchal ideologies, but patriarchal ideologies that are enforced by caste system. For instance, in any patriarchal society, a woman may have to marry a man and become subservient to the head of the family, who is the man, and then also biologically procreate children and abide by the norms of that family. But here in Indian society, which I would also like to call it as largely Hindu society, though Hindu is a term which was invented in the very recent past. So in this society, women are controlled in order to be subservient and compliant to the norms of the caste. For instance, a woman cannot marry anybody and be part of the patriarchal institution of marriage. A woman has to marry only within the same caste and procreate in order to continue the caste. Otherwise, if this Brahminical patriarchy collapses, the continuity of caste also collapses. So therefore, a woman is controlled by the caste system and by the principles of caste, that she cannot marry anyone, but she has to marry within the same caste, and she has to reproduce for the sake of the continuity of caste. So this is the nature of patriarchy that operates in caste-ridden society. So traditionally, women had no legal inheritance rights either from the natal family or husband's family property, husband's property or family property. So what happens, most of the times women as we know in ancient Indian society, most of these upper caste women who are widows had to just live, so poor, abandoned, and at times they live in ashrams and, around the temples as beggars till the time they die. So they do not have any inheritance rights, right to property, right to see. Article 14 guarantees right to fundamental equality, but if women do not have right by the fact of being women, because they are born as women, they do not have right in the property of parents, property of the husband, then that fundamental right to equality has been violated. So therefore, women were guaranteed in Hindu Code Bill the right to inheritance. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar introduced legal reforms to ensure women's right to property, yet these rights remain restricted by prevailing social and cultural beliefs. So I would like to not only simply talk about, yes, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has introduced this principle and it became a law, it became an act, and therefore women have these rights. But what are the challenges to these rights? I would like to discuss. So the belief, even today, if you see, women's right to property is often questionable. So women, are not seen as assets to the natal families. They are always seen as they are going to anyway go out of the family, marry someone, will be given in marriage to someone, and therefore, what all her earnings are her property, or even her, even her labor will belong to the matrimonial home. So therefore, from the time the child is born, the families see a woman as someone who is going to anyway go into the matrimonial family. So and therefore, people do not spend money, and they try, money on her education. People do not invest on her well-being, and as soon as possible, they would like to marry her off. That is where we have a lot of child marriages that take place across all castes. It is, no caste is excluded from this. Upper caste for some reason, Dalits for some reason, OBCs for another reason. So all the families largely marry their girl children as early as possible so that she will belong where she actually meant to belong. So this is the reason why why people her right to resources in the families, in the natal families, is curtailed. At the same time, there is a unspoken, like I mean, nowadays even newspapers are not covering so much about it. The dowry system is a prevailing system in India. As we see, um, dowry in 80s, in 1980s, between 1980 to 1990, thousands of women have been, set on fire by the matrimonial homes. So this was covered even in international newspapers, that here is a country that burns its brides. Okay, so very shockingly, so many women were killed for the dowry. So post 90s, the dowry has become something else. Like it has become almost a tariff. If you don't have money, you buy someone, buy someone who is much lower in, in terms of his job or in terms of his abilities and all. So, but this actually is another reason why women do not have the right to property, because natal families always remind her of that we have paid this much dowry to marry you off. Hence, you asking for equal right in the property is nothing but an unfair decision and an unfair right that is sanctioned to you. So therefore, you often see most, like, Andhra, Maharashtra. So these are some of the important states where the right to, natal property, family property is curtailed by this social attitudes towards women. So since we have educated you equally, but we had to also pay extra dowry to you, so therefore you cannot have right to property in the family's share. So therefore, most of the properties go to, means in the, immobile properties like houses, lands, and house plots, urban properties, all this go to the boy children, whereas girl children are merely given dowry. But is this dowry given to the girl? No, it is given to the groom. So when the man takes this dowry, she is still poor, she doesn't have any money. Suppose if the marriage fails and she comes back to the natal home, there is no space for her in the natal home, there is no space for her in the matrimonial home, and also she will not have any of resources of her own. And the in recent past, I mean, all of you, I mean, I would like to also know your opinion and your responses to it. Is that in the recent past, men everywhere are out, mostly these are upper caste men, okay, with either properties and good jobs, at the same time also demanded lakhs and crores of money in the name of dowry, are are they are kind of complaining that the laws related to women, either 498A, Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, or 1961 Prohibition of Dowry Act, are the acts that are very unfairly given to women. Okay, so but what we do not understand in the recent case, though I mean, with due respect to someone who committed suicide, so this person, Atul Subhash, has written 24 pages of suicide note saying that the laws are biased towards women, and these laws has to be taken back, and women should not have any rights. But one thing, what I mean, see, I was also surprised that, even a very well-known feminist in Hyderabad immediately called for a meeting for men who are victims of marriage and victims of wife, and so many men turned up. Okay, and talking about why women have these rights and women should not have these laws to protect them. See, the thing is, just because of one person, writes 24 pages of letter and 81 minutes of video against women's rights, the women's rights are not going to be curbed immediately. That is the guarantee that given by the Constitution. So men here are asking the women not to have rights. Rather, men wanted any particular laws and protection for themselves. Yes, they can always fight for it. They cannot ask that, the women should not have these rights. And this person, like, just let's think about any middle class, upper caste Hindu in a caste endogamous marriage, means an arranged marriage. Okay. Um, every man is taking dowry. So what is actually current scenario, which the outcry of the upper caste men and at times also upper caste women about alimony is nothing but the women who gave lakhs of dowry, who are seeking it back, asking it back at the time of divorce in the name of alimony. It is unfortunate that the women's labor, which is unpaid, unrecognized, invisible labor, what Amartya Sen calls, is not for what the man is paying as alimony. Alimony, in reality, the women are seeking, asking, or demanding the money they have actually given, the money they have actually given to the husband at the time of marriage by the parents, because now these women do not have any support system to go back to, either in the natal family or in the matrimonial home or the husband. But men are saying these earnings are my hard earnings. Is dowry hard earning? For the say for the ipso facto, you are born as a man, you demand lakhs and crores of money from the parents of the bride, and then you say that you are a hard worker, hard earned money which you do not want to give it back. Okay, so these are certain attitudes. Even in modernity, they are using the social media platforms, they are using Instagram accounts, reels, Twitter accounts, to post that men are the victims of patriarchy, victims of marriage. If men are victims of marriage, why men are upholding marriage? So this is actually the caste system which makes them, entitled to dowry also, and the unpaid labor of the woman, as well as also they want to dump the woman whenever there is a serious crisis in marriage. Okay, so in order to curb this, the first right that was sanctioned is inheritance and property right to the woman. And in this, like based on this, of course, alimony has not been introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, but later, based on the same foundational document, women also got certain right to maintenance, right to inheritance, right to alimony. Inheritance is after the death of the husband, wife becomes one of the important legal heir. Okay, but otherwise women were left alone, where the men take the property. When the man dies, the man's brothers and brothers will take the property without giving any property to the wife who lived with him for several years. Okay, so then the right to divorce, this is also another important right that was sanctioned through Hindu code bill, because in Hindu society, marriage is considered to be sacred and an institution in which a woman is perceived to have been tied to the husband for 7 births. If at all there are 7 births, that this woman has the 7 births of life to share with this same man. That is the belief system. So according to this, there is no right to divorce for the woman. So a woman will only enter into marriage and either will die or or die and get out of it. Otherwise, there is no escape from the web of matrimony that, that she could exit out of that, in case the marriage is a violent marriage is not a very satisfactory marriage. So the constitution guarantees the right to divorce, but the social attitude shaped by Brahminical patriarchy again continue to stigmatize single women. So single women are looked down upon, single mothers are looked down upon, and women who divorce are seen as like, they have not tried enough to secure their marriage, or, or satisfy the husband. And these are certain attitudes towards women who seek divorce in even today. So as you see, women who say, for instance, if a man is man is disloyal in marriage, so women are told to, entice the husband and keep him attracted towards her. Okay. At the same time, if a woman is disloyal, then she is shamed, she is slut shamed, and, she is also immediately disposed of from the marriage through divorce, or, disposed of even without divorce. So man has the social power either to keep the wife or to, or to dispose her of. But here is the right to divorce gives, there has to be a legal divorce. One cannot simply abandon the woman, is the first right that was guaranteed for the woman. So second right is when the woman finds the marriage suffocating or violent, the woman can also apply for divorce, and legally she is entitled to exit that unhappy, violent, or unsatisfactory marriage. And despite legal provisions, what we see today again, shaming them in public, shaming them in the social media. So shaming women who seek divorce as characterless, or people who do not have any support system, people who are weak and meek, and all these kind of attitudes sometimes curb the right to divorce for women. So another important provision is that intercaste marriage. In the traditional Hindu marriage, even at the level of the rituals, there is no ritual that accommodates marriage between two different caste people. If I'm not wrong, the rituals that and mantras that are used to solemnize the marriage of a Brahmin couple differ from that of from the solemnization of the Shudra marriage. Okay, similarly, no Brahmin ever solemnized a Dalit marriage. So Dalits have their own system of marriage and their own system of people who would help the solemnization of marriage. So the Hindu Code Bill later, materialized into the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, stemming from Hindu Code Bill, has actually given the right to intercaste marriage, and this is considered under Special Marriage Act, where registration is possible, and people from different castes and different faiths can get married legally, and they are allowed all rights that are sanctioned in the institution of marriage. But however, with the legal allowance, there are high levels of degree of violence against the couples who enter into intercaste marriage. So we see caste killings, honor killings, when the couple chooses to marry and across the boundaries of the caste. So when the constitution guarantees, but the society would not accept. Okay, so the provisions are are constitutional, but the constitutional rights are curbed by the Brahminical patriarchy of a particular society. So couples who are married across caste groups are either killed or fined, at times shamed, and sometimes also socially ostracized and beaten up. So these are some of the acts of violence, which is also known as honor killings and honor crimes. However, Dalits have called it dishonor killings because there is no honor in killing. So that is the Dalit movement succeeded in calling them as dishonor killings than honor killings. Some people have simply called it as these are neither honor killings or nor dishonor killings, but they are just caste killings, because nowadays we often see only the Dalit partner is killed by the families of the upper caste, and the girl is at times retained or reinstated to the family and all that. Okay, so we can see in the recent past some of the examples. So I mean, on the one hand, constitution guarantees equal opportunity, right against discrimination, as well as right to equality, fundamental equality. But however, the violence against intercaste couples, okay, what we see, they do not have equal opportunity in the sense of getting married the similar way the same caste couples who in the name of arranged marriage, how they enter into matrimony. So Amrita and Pranay's case that refers to murder of Pranay in 2018 in Telangana. So Amrita comes from an upper caste community of Arya Vaishya. So her father, Maruti Rao, has paid 1 crore, allegedly 1 crore rupees in Supari to get the Dalit young man Pranay to be killed. Okay, so after Pranay's murder, what we see is more shameful in Telangana is there is a huge consolidation of caste Hindus glorified Amruta's father Maruti Rao as the hero. There are even films made on Amruta's father as the focalization of Maruti Rao as the hero and central character. They have even made films. Okay, so it is similar to we see in many contexts, even in Tamil Nadu, there are many caste killings that take place, at the same time honor killings that take place. Okay, so in that context, we see upper caste consolidate against Dalits. Okay, I'll just read out. In many regions, caste Hindu consolidations exist under the banners like Tevar Protection Front or Non-Dalit Common People's Association. Okay, so these are the associations who largely fund and gather and work against any relationship that forms between caste Hindu partner and the Dalit partner. Often they even kill the Dalit partner when the Dalit partner dares to enter into a marriage with a caste Hindu woman. So the same kind of scenario happened after Pranay's murder also. Then it is similar to Chunduru context. In Chunduru, after killing of 13 Dalits, the Sarvajana Abhyuday Porata Samiti formed against Dalits. So upper caste also actively politically gather and consolidate against Dalits in many contexts in India. And these are some of the challenges that Dalits have to access their fundamental rights and legal rights in India. So we can also see in Tamil Nadu another case of Gokul Raj and Swati. So these two young couple, like one, the Dalit boy, he's an engineering graduate. Okay, he met Swati in the temple premises one day, and then he was actually, attacked by a group of men. We can call them goons, but they are not just goons, but they are upper caste goons who are against any kind of relationships between the Dalits and the upper caste. In this context, the girl belongs to one of the dominant castes in Tamil Nadu, and this group of men have attacked, abducted him, and killed him. And later, it was surprisingly, two important aspects of this case is one is that we don't even know whether Gokul Raj and Swati were in relationship, but they were just friends. Even friendships are also treated very badly, treated with violence by the caste Hindu groups. Okay, so then another aspect of and very strange aspect of this case is Yuvraj, the prime suspect in this case, okay, who also surrendered himself dramatically in front of the court when number of his caste group consolidated in front, gathered in front of the court, hailing him and glorifying him. That is, Yuvraj, the prime suspect, was neither the relative of Swati nor known to her parents. He was the founder of a caste-based organization, Maviran Thiran Chinnamalai Gounder Peravai, allegedly suspected that Swati might have been in a relationship with Gokul Raj as they had been seen together in the temple vicinity. He surrendered before the court in Namakkal when hundreds of his supporters from his caste gathered ostensibly in favor of honor killings. So they are very openly claiming that they are against all intercaste marriages. So they will not let any Dalit dare to have a real friendship or relationship with the caste Hindu women. So another important case is Shankar and Kaushalya. So this is known to many people as Kaushalya also later turned to fight against her own family and the rights of intercaste couples. So he was 22-year-old Dalit man from Tamil Nadu once again, and he was in relation. He got married to Kaushalya, who belongs to Devar community, and they were ostracized and by the community and attacked many times, even at the time of wedding and all. But eventually Kaushalya's parents and the caste group got Shankar killed. Okay, and Kaushalya was taken back forcefully to the natal family, where she was given a holy bath and they removed her tali as a symbolic ritual of cleansing of the defilement caused by marrying a Dalit man. So in this case too, but in this case, another striking feature is Kaushalya turned as an anti-caste crusader and started fighting for the rights, her own, also the legal rights, legal rights sanctioned to her. So another case that is also evident in, sorry. Yeah, that another case that is evident is Illavarsan and Divya. So in this case, Illavarsan and Divya got married, and a lot of caste violence acts erupted around their vicinities, and then they went into hiding. They got married, and then Illavarsan's wife, Divya's father, committed suicide, unable to show his face to his caste group elders. And then Divya's mother filed a petition of habeas corpus. Generally, habeas corpus is like when the person is suspected to have been abducted and kept hostage or something. But in this case, you also see most of the judicial actors very passionately work towards curbing the right to intercaste marriage. So therefore, the Divya's community's lawyer filed a petition on, with the help of Divya's mother, or on behalf of Divya's mother, as habeas corpus, where Divya was presented before the court, and she was also brainwashed that her father died because of her, and she felt very guilty, and she allegedly removed her tali in the court premises itself. And Illavarsan was killed 2 days later, somewhere his body was dumped close to some railway tracks. So these are some of the cases we see, very milestone cases, but Tamil Nadu and the whole of India is known for almost, every day we hear cases of honor killings, but at caste violence. But at the same time, we also see many of these cases are reported cases. There can be a lot of unreported cases which go totally unreported and not known to us. So yeah. So and we also see caste may not operate only with, between the Brahmin and Dalit. It's not a binary. So Ambedkar theorized caste as graded inequalities of caste. What is the meaning of graded inequalities? We find each caste either superior or inferior to the immediate caste, with Brahmin at the top and Dalit at the receiving end. Okay, so in between, what we see is, say, for instance, OBC caste. Okay, so I do not want to use the term Shudra, because Shudra is an outdated, obsolete category, because it is part of Varna system. Okay, Varna system has given rise to Jati system, where caste groups have become, numerous castes. Okay, so we see so many caste groups. Even within the Shudra, there are caste which have upwardly mobile, which have, turned up, like kind of, taken upward mobility, and the others which remained at the receiving end. So therefore, we cannot use Shudra. But again, if you use the constitutional category of OBC, is also an empty category, because often some OBC castes, for instance, in Tamil Nadu, if you see, most of these castes indulged in caste killings of Dalits and honor killings of Dalits, and at times also their own girl children or their own boy children, are all MBC, OBC, and BC, DNC categories. So even these castes are superior, socially superior to the Dalits, because they, on the one hand, they may be using the constitutional guarantees like reservations, but at the same time, they also take pride in being non-untouchables, touchable Hindus, though inferior to the uppermost castes or even the Brahmins. At the same time, they also try to enjoy cultural and social superiority in relation to Dalits. This is a very fascinating, interesting category which enjoys both, but also in both ways is not, as kind of, do not have a social capital and cultural capital, neither like Brahmins or, like Dalits. Okay, because Dalits have a different kind of politics. Okay, Dalits consolidate, in the sense, I don't even call this consolidation, because it's a political, political ups, kind of political gatherings that, Dalits have. Dalit political groups fight against the oppression. Whereas here, OBC, MBC categories in Tamil Nadu are coming together to fight against Dalits, okay, who are more oppressed than them. So that is the unique situation, unique ways of looking at politics, how, the politics and the, very epistemological standpoint of the, Dalit groups and Ambedkarite movement is used and distorted in many ways by upper caste Hindus, and also at times as well as OBCs. Okay, so at times also we see the legal provisions, legal rights that are sanctioned are curbed by the some of it is procedural, because the legislative procedure, which involves a number of actors like police, for instance, or lawyers, for instance, could be upper caste and driven by the ideologies of upper caste, their caste groups. One simple example is Chunduru caste violence has taken place with the help of the police themselves. And Khairlanji massacre happened, and the police already knew that Surekha Botmange, the Dalit woman, was already fighting against the Kunbi caste villagers, dominant caste villagers, in order to secure her piece of land from being curbed by the caste Hindus. But the police were quiet about it. And we also see media playing a role. Media plays much more bigger role. I will give those examples in a while. So media plays a bigger role. Why? Because see, social act, like the legislative actors also have limitations, but the media can create a narrative that influences judges, that influences the law and the legal procedures. One example is that many cases, like one is Arushi Talwar's case in Delhi. Okay, and second one is also, we have a case called this is another case where the wife, wife has I think something called Rustam. Some cases there. Okay, so these cases, media played a vital role, including the case like Nirbhaya. So when Arushi Talwar's case is in one of the very rich suburbs of Delhi, a 14-year-old girl, Arushi Talwar, was killed in her own room with both her parents sleeping in the master bedroom, which is adjacent to her bedroom. So this case was not resolved, and finally, and it was also not dealt well by the police and the judiciary. And then, the parents were arrested, and they were also imprisoned for many years. So after that, Arushi Talwar, there was a book that was written, and and also a film was made by Miss Gulzar. Arushi Talwar is the film that was made. So after that Talwar film, then the court has very kindly, looked at their case. Okay, Meghna Gulzar made this movie. She is granddaughter of Gulzar, and then the case was treated kind of tilted in a different way, and the parents were acquitted. When they were acquitted, they came out, and they thanked both the writer and the director. So they thanked, because they have created a kind of narrative which actually helped them to come out of it. In the sense, legal procedures are also bound to be influenced by the narratives that are created around that particular case. For instance, you also look at Nirbhaya case. Okay, Nirbhaya case again also is a narrative that was narrated by the media through, like, media by representing the attitudes and ideologies of the urban middle class Hindus, upper caste Hindus, in the name of common people. Okay, common people, or the average citizen becomes the upper caste, middle class, educated, urban, Indian. So through that, they achieved, like, legal procedures are at times, used by feudal caste better than the Dalits. So Dalits have provisions, but feudal dominance also operates throughout these legal proceedings, because they can bribe them, they can fund, they can do so much through, for instance, how could Divya's mother file a petition? See, a woman uneducated, belongs to an OBC caste, uneducated, lives in the village. How does she know about these cases? Is that, that caste consolidation helps to, go take the provisions like habeas corpus very seriously, and, use it against the Dalits, and, in this case, in order to kill the Dalit partner. Okay. And legal merit, like, at times also, legal provisions that are given for protection of women are misused by upper caste. I mean, upper caste often say SC/ST atrocities is misused, but if Chunduru carnage was not was not considered or not successfully fought through SC/ST atrocities, or there is no caste angle to Khairlanji atrocity, then what else is SC/ST Atrocities Act used for? In fact, the SC/ST Atrocities Act is least used properly. It is never misused. Rather, it was not underused. Okay, it was underused because of these narratives that are around the cases. And interestingly, Khairlanji case, the narrative is that the Khairlanji victim Surekha Botmange was immoral woman, and woman who has an extramarital affair, and this was the narrative which curbed her right even after her death to gain legal justice. Okay, so in this picture I have used the film Court, which is a recent Telugu blockbuster, where POXO case is used against the lower caste boy, because in a consensual relationship between 17.8-year-old and a 19-year-old young man from Chakali community. Okay, so same thing used to happen, has happened several times in Tamil Nadu context also. If we read the legal cases that are, collected by the NGO evidence, we see that POXO case is used on Dalit young men to curb their relationship. For instance, if a, boy and girl fall in love through school, junior, senior, say the girl is in 9th grade and the boy is in 10th grade. Okay, by the time they wait till the boy finishes the 12th class, he becomes the major, girl will still be the minor. So he will be prosecuted through POXO, and rape charges are filed, charges are thrown by the upper caste families to curb the intercaste relations. So while we have the rights, but you also have the obstructions. Those obstructions are caste, feudalism, and Brahminical patriarchy. Okay, so we can also see other cases of rape and there is a history of rape and sexual violence in India, with milestone cases in it, and giving us some important lessons on Brahminical patriarchy. So see, one of the important landmark cases is like 1972 Mathura's rape case, who is an Adivasi woman who was raped in the police station by 2 policemen in Bombay. And then the court in 1978, stated that there were no visible marks of protest on her body, hence the consent has been given. And second is that she is habituated to sexual intercourse, hence the rape cannot be called as rape. So these two important aspects of the judgment says that caste is one of the important aspects that operates in the sexual violence and rape in India. So rape and sexual violence against the Adivasi women or Dalit women are not even considered to be, sexual, not even defined as rape and sexual violence. Though the constitutional guarantees and the legislative procedure is supposed to secure these rights to legal justice, but the social reality is such that we have judges who believe that an Adivasi woman is sexually immoral, okay, or sexually loose character. So a Dalit woman is considered to be, lower caste women are considered to be, not holding that kind of a sexual purity, or which in other words, caste purity, in order to, in order to seek empathy from the judges or the lawyers in this judicial proceedings. Okay, so in this verdict has actively been used, for instance, by the upper caste, women's movements, that bodily it even led to this particular case of Mathura in 1972, led to the protests of the upper caste women, which guaranteed some changes in the rape law, where the consent was redefined on the basis of, woman's bodily integrity, and not on the basis of whether she has certain sexual history, which should be taken into consideration during the legal proceedings. But at the same time, these are some of the women who became landmarks for women's movement in India. However, these women themselves could not secure their rights and right to legal justice. For instance, Mathura's rape case, okay? So the Adivasi woman goes back home and starts working in the same village, in the same manner, toils in the agricultural fields and lowly paid jobs, but her the accused or the perpetrators have never been punished. And then another important landmark case is Bhavri Devi's case. This is, the reason I said important, because it has a longer history than even Mathura's rape case. So in 1992, Bhavri Devi, she's a Sathin working as a, today we have Asha workers and Anganwadi workers. Like that, there was Sathin, a state appointed social worker, and she prevented child marriage of a 9-month-year-old, upper caste, infant, and the upper caste family and men were enraged by this act of stopping a child marriage, because as we know, Rajasthan is known for child marriages. Of course, child marriages take place in other parts of India also, not just Rajasthan. So she was gang raped by the high caste adversaries when she was toiling in the agricultural field along with her husband. So this case went to Sessions Court. In its 1995 judgment on Bhavri Devi's case, acquitted the accused, stating that upper caste men would not even touch a lower caste woman, let alone rape her. The first point the judge said, upper caste men don't touch the lower caste women. So how did the rape happen? Why will they rape her? The court also questioned, how did the husband remain a mute spectator and fail to protect her? So if at all that rape happened in front of husband, because husband went to give witness in the court, so how can a man be mute spectator without protecting her? So these are again two important aspects of the Brahminical patriarchy. One is that the judge very clearly pronouncing caste is the reality of Indian society, but elsewhere judge might have said there is no caste in India, but in this case he said there is caste in India, and the upper caste don't touch the Dalits or the lower caste. But the sexual violence has a different kind of intersectionality, because yes, they do not touch. Touch is touch is not the touchability, untouchability also takes place in different ways. Okay. So for instance, in order to marry a woman who is a lower caste or Dalit, the untouchability plays a role. But in order to molest her, it doesn't play. Okay, in order to get them toil and labor in the fields where the rice is produced, untouchability doesn't work. But in order to let the Dalit enter into the household of an upper caste, untouchability operates. So it has its own, norms. It has its own very illogical norms that only fits into the logic of Brahminism. So here is that is the first fundamental aspect of it. And the second is that, how can a husband be a mute spectator? See, the man's power and the man's the power of masculinity is not simply determined by biology, or even simply by one structure of patriarchy. It is determined by caste. As we see, often Dalit men, if they are riding bikes, okay, because they see, riding bike is a very masculine form of assertion. But when a Dalit man rides a bike, recent case also in Tamil Nadu, a boy who is riding a very, I think, a costly bike, Royal Enfield, his hand has been severed by upper caste, because he dares to assert his masculinity. At times, Dalit men try to also use very masculine forms of assertions, which are any other man is doing in a caste Hindu society, like sporting their mustache, riding a bike, and daring to take that marriage procession, okay, on a horse. So these men are attacked, and their masculinities are curbed. Their masculinities are, kind of considered to be inferior to the masculinities that upper caste men play. So then we have also another case of Surekha Botmange. So Surekha Botmange case, for instance, like, okay, I just want to finish Bhavri Devi. So in Bhavri Devi's case, again, it became a landmark judgment where the upper caste Hindu women's groups and feminist groups have fought, and fought in the sense like they have protested the judgment. And this led to Vishaka guidelines. Okay, so the certain NGOs came together and asked for, asked for the redefinition of the workspace, because Bhavri Devi got raped in the workplace, because her job is, yeah, so the redefinition of the workplace, because work is here considered to be, the village is her workplace, okay. But though Vishaka guidelines came into existence, which led to cash committees, committees against sexual harassment in all workplaces, but we do not see caste angle being taken into consideration. Similarly, another case of Surekha Botmange, we see the kind of protests that we saw in the case of Disha in Hyderabad, and in case of Delhi gang rape case, which is Nirbhaya case. So that kind of a upper caste consolidation didn't take place for any of the Dalit cases, Dalit rape cases like Surekha, or even the case like Hathras. Okay, so these are some of the challenges that I would like to present before you in attaining legal justice and the constitutional guarantees for women in India. So with this, I stop. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Saujanya. Sorry, it's entered into 1 hour. That's why I asked to conclude. But it's a very good presentation and comprehensive information and incidents you gave. I think, thank you very much. Another, my question and my suggestion to you, we have to be, what are the constitutional guarantees uh, given by the constitution, and before the constitution what was the situation, after constitution is there any changes came into process, is there any major changes, otherwise constitution gave any rights, is any rights given to people like that? Can you give one uh, details of the before constitution and after constitution? I think not now. If you, we are also going to publish this all articles into book form. In that time also, I think I request you to present in that mode. These all details, it's okay, but same time, what are the guarantees in the constitution? What was the situation before constitution? What is the situation now we are facing? These things, and then the all details should come. That is my opinion. You can also think about it. Thank you, Saujanya.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Anybody this open to floor? Can you ask anything to Saujanya garu? I think we have a 15-20 minutes.
Hello,
Yeah,
ma'am. I'm Induvella from Himachal Pradesh.
yes.
I am very, very thankful to you because you have given an eye-opening lecture on the social truth about the Constitution, about the constitutional rights, and what is happening in the society. Just, ma'am, do you understand Hindi also?
I can understand.
Yes,
little
yes,
bit,
yes. It's okay. It's okay. Both will go together. So, ma'am, see, आरजेकर, निर्भया कांड, हाथरस कांड, जहां पे निर्भया कांड के लिए पूरा देश ही मोमबत्तियां जलाता है, एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड हाथरस में जब एक जिसको बोलते हैं एक कोल्ड रिएक्शन होता है, वहां पे बचाया जाता है. तो सी, इस मेंटल एटीट्यूड कास्टिज्म को किस तरह से हम खत्म कर सकते हैं. आपने बहुत बढ़िया कहा कि हिंदू कोड बिल जो डॉक्टर अम्बेडकर ने बनाया था, वो दैट वाज द फर्स्ट स्टेप टू रिकॉग्नाइज अ वुमन एज अ पर्सन. मैं तो अभी भी कहती हूँ कि इंडिया में तो पर्सन ही नहीं सोचा जाता है, चाहे लेजिस्लेटिव रिफॉर्मेशन कर दे इन द पेपर्स, but about rights guaranteed to the women in marriage. Very rightly you said कि patriarchal society में क्या है? Control on the women. It's nothing. Control on the women. And if sometimes आपकी वाइफ आपसे ज्यादा अच्छी है, तो आप सोचिए कि क्या क्या क्रिमिनल इंटिमिडेशंस होती हैं टू कर्व हर. मतलब इंटेलिजेंस ऑफ वुमेन भी एक किस्म का बहुत बड़ा क्राइम ही बन जाता है कि विक्टिम बिकम्स अ एग्रीव्ड पार्टी हियर. एंड सबसे बड़ी बात जो मैं आई वांट टू टेल टू एवरीवन कि इकोनॉमिक इंडिपेंडेंस जो है, जो इक्वालिटी शुड बी एम्ड एट नॉट फॉर द जस्टिस बट फॉर द डेवलपमेंट. ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइटर्स के मन में तो होंगी, दैट्स व्हाई ही गेव द इक्वल राइट्स एंड इक्वल एवरीथिंग. लेकिन उनको तकलीफ हुई, एंड यू सी हिंदू कोड बिल का जिन्होंने उस वक्त विरोध किया, उन्हीं लोगों ने अपनी बेटियों को आगे किया. एंड यू सी मैम, आपको मालूम है कि आज के समय में पॉलिटिकली कैसे बढ़ा जाता है कि क्या कोई भी लड़की विद हर ग्रेस कैन सी गो फॉर? नो. यहाँ पे तो आई डोंट वांट टू यूज दैट वर्ड कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स, बट पीपल से कि आप पॉलिटिक्स में कैसे जा सकती हैं, और अगर कहीं आप गलती से इंटेलिजेंट है तो आप कभी भी नहीं जा सकती हैं. मैम, लकीली आई वाज अ मेंबर ऑफ वीमेन कमीशन इन हिमाचल प्रदेश. वहां पे हमारे पास इतने केसेस आए हैं वेयर यू वॉन्ट इमेजिन कि जब कोई ऐसा केस आता है, जैसे आपने मैरिटल चीजें कही हैं, तो एकदम से कहा जाता है अगर लो कास्ट की वो करप्ट होगी, शी मस्ट बी प्रोस्टिट्यूट. ऐसे वर्ड्स आई हैव हर्ड. हालांकि हमने जजमेंट्स दी हैं, ऑल्दो आपका हमारा कोई ऐसी जुडिशियल जुरिस्डिक्शन होता है और हमें बड़ा अफसोस होता है. एंड हमारी इलेक्टेड गर्ल्स जो कि वो बनी हुई है प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ जो हमारे प्रधान जिसको बोलते हैं हमारी लैंग्वेज में, जो प्रधान बनी हुई है वो सारी तो उप प्रधान ही उसकी यूज करी जा रहा है, सारी की सारी पावर्स। उसको तो बेचारी को 5 साल पता ही नहीं चलता कि मेरी क्या एरिया ऑफ जुरिडिक्शन है या मेरी क्या पावर्स हैं। शी इज ओनली
मैडम प्लीज कंक्लूड कर लीजिए, बहुत आदमी है ना।
जी सर, जी सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर,
प्लीज प्लीज
एंड थैंक यू मैम। आपका एक और लेक्चर होना चाहिए।
Thank you, ma'am.
थैंक यू मैम।
प्लीज Saujanya, if you want to respond, please respond. Otherwise, you can respond in after all questions.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah.
I'll respond after all questions.
Sir, बोलिए, anybody is there? Okay, please respond, sir. Please.
Sir, hello.
Yeah, yes.
Sir, please.
Sir, I am an engineer, Ahmad Road from Himachal Pradesh. Ma'am, my question is that the women has the right for share in the property in laws also, in parental property also. Is it all right? What do you say about it?
Sir, your question
Okay.
is it all right?
Because when the women they are claiming the share in the especially in the parental property, and the relations between the brothers and sisters, they are being poised. What do you say about it? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay, sir. I'll respond. Are there any questions, sir? Any more questions?
No, please respond. And please respond.
See, ma'am, you asked me a very difficult question, how to carry forward. See, one is that we have the constitutional guarantees and the constitutional morality. But on the other hand, there are challenges also before us. So, one is the political activism that is going on, and education as another solution. And as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar very rightly pointed out, the organize and educate. Okay, so these are some of the aspects which will guarantee our rights. The rights cannot simply be there on the on the book, but it also has to materialize in the real life and social reality. As social reality, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was very aware, like very clearly aware of the fact that we are not a society of citizens. We are a society that is built by innumerable castes. And these numerous castes will have a nation of its own. So therefore, in order to consolidate, this is a challenge that is there before the constitution. So the rights have to be protected by the moral conscience of the people. And in order to build that conscience, political, organizational, unity and education, these are some of the important devices that are there before us to access the rights. And the second question is that if the woman is seeking property right in the natal family's property, the relationships are getting spoiled between the brothers and sisters or whatever. But what is the reason behind it? Why there are very many reasons behind it. That's what I was trying to also explain. On the one hand, it is a guarantee sanctioned by the state. So therefore, she has a right. And irrespective of whether the relationships will get spoiled or not, that right has been sanctioned. Okay. And, also when the wife takes the property after the death of the husband, then also the natal, matrimonial family relationships are getting spoiled. The husband's brother stopped talking to her, and giving any respect, any kind of support in future. But the reason behind it is the attitudes of the society. And that is shaped by patriarchy, that is also shaped by caste. But second is that, some of the logic, logic that we are missing here out here is that women are given dowry in exchange of at the time of marriage. So this also curtails her right to property. People often say that we already have given your share in the name of dowry. Firstly, one has to fight dowry. And why should, women also should be equally given education and investment into her well-being, her physical, mental and moral well-being, and her ability to climb the occupational ladder. And this is important, and not the dowry. So when the dowry is given, the logic is shifted to, but logic is again a patriarchal, dowry is again a patriarchal form where the woman doesn't benefit on her own. Her
Yes.
well-being is not guaranteed through the money that is exchanged at the time of marriage. So therefore, in very many ways, that the legal right that was sanctioned has been curbed by the social attitudes of the people or family members.
Yes. But my second this supplementary that जब कोई वसीयत करता है पेरेंट्स, वो वसीयत में अपने बच्चों को जो बॉयज होते हैं, लड़के होते हैं, उनको वसीयत में ये लिखता है कि मैं लड़कियों को सारा दहेज में दे चुका हूँ जो देना है, बाकी मैं सारा प्रॉपर्टी शेयर जो है चल अचल प्रॉपर्टी का ये मैं अपने लड़कों को दे रहा हूँ। तो जहाँ वहाँ जाकर के ये जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है वो लीगली इसको वो कर देती है कि ये लीगली ठीक है, दहेज में दे दिया है, तो उसको डिवार कर देते हैं वो। और वो टू मेंटेन द रिलेशंस सिस्टर्स भी कह देती हैं कि मुझे सब कुछ मिल गया है दहेज में, सो दैट आई वांट के ये दिस आवर शेयर शुड बी शेयर्ड विद टू द आवर ब्रदर्स। दिस इज आल्सो द प्रॉब्लम।
Yeah, sir, but that doesn't stand in the court of law. Because it is only in the family people are, outside court settlement kind of thing that people are discussing. But that doesn't stand because, firstly, giving dowry is a criminal activity, and
Yes.
receiving dowry is a criminal activity. Attending a marriage where dowry exchange happens is a criminal activity. So therefore, it is a kind of logic that is only operating within the patriarchal setup, but otherwise it doesn't stand before the court of law. One can actually fight in the court of law and get the share and the property right.
They can get it, it's all right. They can get it. There is provision. They have the right. But generally, it is not being done. Even sisters are accepting that we have got everything in the marriage from my parents in the shape of dowry, and we don't want share in the this land and the house and all that with the brothers. So we want to give our share to among the brothers equally and all that, to maintain the relations even in I think in 100% cases in India. So what is the use of that? Why it was done? It was provided in the constitution. This is my experience. What do you say about it?
See, your experience, sir, you are mentioning about what is generally happening. Okay. But
Yes.
the law is a statement that guarantees the right to equality guaranteed under Article 14.
Yeah.
Okay. That is nothing to do with, see, I am giving you a law and one doesn't have moral capacity to, exercise one's legal law, legal, provision. I mean, that cannot be addressed through law. Law is a statement. It is not curbing your right to equality and equal opportunity. That is the constitutional guarantee. But law is the mechanism that through which you can uphold your right. If people are not, then that is unfortunately, that is the nature of the patriarchal family system in Indian society, at times also applicable to the lower castes and Dalits.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Okay, sir.
Saujanya Garu. Thank you.
very much.
I think we reached 8:30. Anyway, we all happy to hear your presentation. I think in-depth study and understanding of the issues. Anyway, thank you very much on behalf of all organizations and our friends. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Saujanya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.